I was intimidated. I was impressed. I was aroused. All in all, job well done, you crazy bitch.
After all these years, we've finally been blessed. Yo, dudes and dudettes, your friendly neighbor JaxBlade is back. And for y'all who've been following me for a long time, you know, I very much love Baki. I very much love Kengan Ashura. I've been talking about him for years at this point. So like I know all the characters, all the lore, all that stuff. Funny enough, the creator of Kengan follows me because I'm a big fan of how heavy are the dumbbells you lift. And I just always promote his stuff whenever he does it. That Star Striker Rich is also phenomenal. So I have been very anxiously awaiting this freaking crossover right now. And when both finally came to Netflix, a lot of people were just like wondering like, are they ever gonna cross over? Because like they did that promotional art and then they did that manga crossover and stuff like that. And then like, you know, they just had all these little things over the years where it's just like, are they gonna? And a lot of people didn't even know that Kengan and Baki were two different shows, and a lot of people didn't give Kengan a chance because the CGI wasn't their taste. But again, I think it grows on you. However, I do like the 2D and I'm glad they used it for this special. So getting into it, I was very curious where we were going to start when going with this like Baki versus Kengan thing. Because for example, when you read Kengan Ashura and Kengan Omega, there's a certain point of time where it's like, it wouldn't make any sense for them to just stop and go and do this, especially with certain things going on with Ohma's character and Kengan Ashura, that I was just like, I'm very curious how they're gonna do this. And so when watching this, I could see, for the Baki characters, it's very much after Pickle. You could tell like, because Jack Hanma's face is like still messed up from his intimate session with Pickle. But for Kengan, it's very much an Elseworld story for them. Just because it couldn't fit in the plot narrative of the manga, so I'm looking at like those old DBZ movies. Story-wise, it does seem like a very valid thing that would happen though, because I love that like Metsudo and Tokugawa are just like buddies, and they're like, yeah, wouldn't it be fun if your fighters fought my fighters? Yeah, let's have that. And then like they did it, and then the way the intro started, I was like, wait, how many fights are we getting in this? Because they showed all the fighters, and I was just like, okay, so like, is it just gonna turn into a brawl or something like that? But no, they really stuck with the 3 rounds. Another thing I really love was the fact that the fighters actually like knew of each other and like their skill sets. Like, he's using removal from the Kure clan. That is a power that is, and I'm just like, okay, that's great. Like how the Baki characters are like talking about the Kengan power-ups. It's just like, oh man, I was getting hyped. And I also love the fact that like these fighters like have like experience with each other too. It's like, hey, I remember you from this. Like Doppo Orochi actually competed in an old Kengan tournament against Sao Pang's dad, and it was just like, bro, like that is just a hype thing. And I think they covered that in the manga for this like Kengan Ashura crossover a while ago. But again, it was just like cool saying like, oh no, these two can very competently like coexist in certain areas. Now when it comes to actual fights of Baki Hanma versus Kengan Ashura, the thing I will say is they were very predictable. So they didn't go the Kengan Ashura route where like if you watch or read Kengan Ashura, the fights, it's one of the things I think is like a big highlight of the series is the fact that you cannot accurately predict a fight, how it's gonna go. Like when you're reading or watching Kengan Ashura, there's so many times where it's like plot narrative thinks that the fight would go this way, but the beautiful thing about Kengan is they just primarily outskill each other. It's not a thing of like, hey, let's just keep trying to overpower each other all the time. It's like, no, I can handle you this way, you may be stronger this way, stuff like that. And so they're switching up a bit in Kengan Omega about that, but like for Kengan Ashura, that was like a dope concept. I won't go into necessarily full spoilers, but I will talk about fights that I did think were a bit predictable. For this, it was very predictable how the fights were gonna go. It's like, we're obviously gonna get a win for the Kengan characters, we're obviously gonna get a win for the Baki characters, and then we might possibly get a draw or something's gonna happen during the final fight or something like that, you know? Also, choreography-wise, Kengan actually has really great choreography. Like, even if it's CGI, they have really great choreography. The manga for Kengan's choreography is absolutely god tier, and I've made a joke about how most Baki fights go these days, where it's like, powerful attack, reaction to the attack, and then like, you know, characters explain how that attack reacts and stuff like that. Like, you can play a drinking game of like how consistent it is. But like this, I like that they showed a bit more fluidity, though it was still very limited to that like impact of just boom, boom, and stuff like that. There was never anything that made me go like, oh, they're pulling out some like God of High School choreography, some Naruto choreography, some Jujutsu Kaisen choreography or something like that, which is something I would have been like more excited for. But I understand why they just wanted like, you know, to go, hey, we're putting Kengan in the Baki style, so they're gonna fight very Baki-ish instead of like their typical, you know, more fluid choreography style, which I was like, okay. I kind of wanted that for people who've seen the Baki 90s OVA, where like Baki is fighting in that and it's very fluid and very like energetic and stuff like that with how they're moving and doing the attacks. I would have definitely loved if they incorporated more of that, but again, this new Netflix Baki is not go using that route and stuff like that. So that was a little bit of a, okay, I can deal with it. It wasn't anything that took me out of it, but it was something where I was like, oh man, I kind of wanted that fluidity just because it was a crossover, just to see the Baki characters move like that. But I get why they did. But again, it was just so awesome to finally see Kengan Ashura in 2D, because as many people know, How Heavy Are the Dumbbells You Lift and Kengan Ashura are sibling series. Like, they are literally the same universe. If you read the manga or watch the anime, characters cross over in them all the time, and now they have a new sibling, Star Striker Rich. Again, definitely check that out. But it is just cool that we finally got to see that, and that was one of the reasons why at first when the Kengan Ashura was announced and it was CGI, I was kind of like, I don't want to see it as a CGI anime. They really brought it up with the fight scenes in it though, but I just wanted to see that crossover thing. And I do think, for me personally, I do prefer Kengan Ashura in this 2D thing. It just looks better in my honest opinion, and I definitely would have like preferred, like, if they could take that choreography from the 3D and mix it with the 2D like the other series I mentioned prior, that would have been absolutely hype. But with that said, I still enjoy all the fights. And it made sense, the fighters they chose, because Sao Peng and like Hanayama, like, it's just like, it's a battle of durability. And then like Raian and Hanma, it is cool because it's like, oh, those were supposed to be like the antagonists. There's like, oh, we gotta watch out for them. And then like, you know, they're tall and blonde and stuff like that too. And then like Jack even did the thing he did at the end of season 2 in their fight, which I was just like, oh, they're bringing that back. They're bringing that back. So that was dope. That was dope. And then of course we have Baki versus Ohma, because you just can't have that. You have to have the two main characters fight. But then of course they introduced the whole Yujiro thing, like, oh, I'm gonna come and show up, but then they have to introduce Kengan series Yujiro, the Beard, or whatever. I don't care his real name, the Beard, or Devil Lance, whoever you want to call him, Kurogi, whatever. I just love that they had their whole little thing too, where it's just like, okay, yeah, we're the big bosses here, let's show up. Though I do want to talk right now about the power scaling thing, because this is what a lot of people are just gonna eat up. Realistically, a lot of the Baki characters are just so much stronger, faster, and more durable than a lot of the Kengan characters. So me, going into this, I was wondering, how are they gonna play this up, you know what I mean? Because there are times where it's like, if you wanna like balance crossover, you don't want to like make the characters just be, you know, completely one-sided. Like, what's funny is like during the Baki Ohma fight, like Baki drops Ohma very fast, and there is like a part of me that's like, well, that's how it would go, especially after fighting Yujiro and Piccolo and all that stuff. And then for the frame that Ohma is in right now during the Kengan arc, since it's not in Kengan Omega, they're using Kengan Ashura Ohma, I would just be like, yeah, that tracks. But of course Ohma had to get back up, keep fighting, and they did their thing, and it was like, okay, this is really hype, this is really dope. But there was a part of me going like, yeah, realistically Baki would have ended this like around this level right here. But I can see why, because that doesn't make for a good story. It's sort of like how in Godzilla vs. Kong, like everyone knows that Kong is weaker than Godzilla, but Kong is like that motherfucker, right? Like he'll like freaking bring it, like it doesn't matter, like if you're stronger, I'm gonna bring it. But they show that like, okay, Godzilla is just like on another level unless Kong has a weapon, but that doesn't disprove anything of Kong, all right? Like Kong is still a badass in his own right, and I love that. It's just like, I can show someone who's stronger, that doesn't mean that I'm belittling the other person. It's just like, that's what it is. Because back in the day, like it was just like always you had like a crossover event or like a versus battle thing. It'd be like, oh well, technically it's a tie, oh technically it's a draw, technically whatever. And it's just the safest option. It's the safest option to do, so I can understand why they pulled it here. But it is one of those situations when I was watching it, I was just like, yeah, I feel like this would be very one-sided. But as someone who's been a fan of both series for years and has just been waiting for this for years, I would say I'm very satisfied. Like again, I'm just literally doing this recording, post-viewing it, everything's fresh, so I might a bit of a hype high, I'm not gonna lie, but like, you know, I may come down from it and be like, oh, I kind of wish they did more with this, but that right now I actually enjoyed it because they didn't do that thing that I hate what crossovers do, where like, here are the rules of a good crossover. You gotta make sure each character gets their moment to shine. You gotta make sure each series has their moment to shine. It's not like, oh, we're doing greatly like here. Like for example, Turtles Forever, okay? I think Turtles Forever is a fun movie, but they just made the 1987 Turtles so goofy from a point of view that it was just like, yeah, that doesn't work here. Like, okay, if you actually watch the 1987 series, then you know they're actually very competent, and then the stuff around them is goofy, but the turtles are competent. But that movie, they were just like, oh, we hate them, let's just do this. But then, like, they fixed it in TMNT 2012 when they did the crossover with the 2012 Turtles and 1987 Turtles, the first time till they did that. But, like, the reason I'm talking about this is, like, I love when crossovers actually have both characters in character, and they both give them adequate moments to shine, all right? If one is just like outclassing the other the entire time, then that's a BS. The reason I bring that up is just because I think this crossover did well. It was like, you know, back in the day when Generator Rex met Ben 10, or like when frickin' Timmy met Jimmy in the Jimmy Timmy Power Hour, stuff like that, or like, you know, Spider-Man meeting the X-Men, all that stuff. Like, it's just like those crossovers, it's just, I love when the characters are in character and they, like, you know, gas each other up a bit, and I love that whole dynamic. I never hate when it's like one-sided or the other, or people are out of character for no fucking reason. So this did a great job. Overall, go watch this. I had a great time as a fan of both for years and stuff like that. If you're only a fan of one of the series, I still think you would have a fun time, but I hope it like encourages you to go check out the other one, or just be like, oh, maybe I'll go read this. And then for Baki fans, remember, go watch Baki the Grappler season 1 and 2. Don't start with the Netflix one because that's season 3, and I always gotta say that every Baki video. But if you made it this far in the video, type in Hanma Tokita down below and tell me what you thought of the like movie. Tell me, like, did you love it? Did you hate it? Like, tell me your thoughts. Do you think like certain characters should have fought instead? Like, what do you think? Like, I love seeing certain other characters interact, like Olivia and Julius and stuff like that, and then, like, you know, the Baki characters are like looking across from the Kengan characters and they're having their back and forth, and of course the whole Adam P situation. I thought that was hilarious. But again, I'm genuinely curious because I love talking to y'all about this stuff, because we can have, like, you know, just like a good wholesome conversation about it. I enjoyed this more than the Kengan Ashura Street Fighter crossover, because again, I won't spoil that one, but if you've read it, it was like, okay, this is pretty cool, but like the way it like played out, I was just like, because they did a certain thing that they did also in the new TMNT comic, where the 87 turtles met these gens of turtles, and I was just like, so that always like makes me side-eye. But let me know what y'all think about this. Also, I have an entire Baki Kengan playlist for if you feel like you want to get your fix. So like, I just made it like today, so you can literally watch through every single one of my Baki and Kengan Ashura videos I've done over the years, just like if you want to, like, you know, have like a bit of like, oh, what's going on with like certain characters and stuff if you don't know what's going on. But also, if you need like a program to train like them, I actually have quite a few of them in my description box. So if you go to the pinned comment right there, I actually have quite a few that have helped a lot of my clients transform, that have gotten athletic and been, like, you know, doing fighting themselves recently. Like, one of my clients told me like he was able to knock out someone doing like one of my programs, and I was just like, bro, if you make millions, make sure you hit me up. I want to be there courtside, you know, just not courtside, but ringside, you know what I mean? And I'm just like, bruh, I'm gassed. This put me in a really good mood. Like, I've been like, you know, ups and down with my mood lately, but like just seeing this crossover, I was just like, yes, yes, yes. I'm excited, y'all. My passion is just like oozing through the screen. But remember, like I always say, keep calm, booyah on, and don't forget, Momentai, and go check out Baki Hanma versus Kengan Ashura on Netflix right now. Not even sponsored, but I just wanted to sell that. Oh!